say we're back, but we've never done this before.
Like, we're back, bitches.
Yeah, we've never done this before. Welcome to our podcast.
Yes.
This is the
clap it up.
Yes. This is the addtaxpod, where we encourage everyone to know their worth and then add tax.
Period.
Yep.
Yep. So this podcast came about because we really want to help people who deal with a lot of unhealthy relationships with people, whether it's romantic relationships, familial, at the workplace.
Platonic.
Yes. Yup.
All the things.
Yeah.
This is why we need notes.
I'm like, I didn't want to talk too much. So I was like,
you go. So, yeah, our mission is really just to inspire other people through sharing our stories of what we've been through in various types of toxic relationships and toxic situations, in the hopes that people can feel less alone with what they're going through, maybe be able to identify certain behaviors or patterns in their own current situations that they might not have been able to identify prior to hearing us share our stories and what we've learned along the way in life and through these situations, and just encourage people to, again, know their worth and then add tax, because you are worthy of so much more than being subjected to toxicity. So, yeah, that's really our mission. And obviously we are women, but the themes that we will be discussing throughout our podcast and our episodes really do apply to anybody, no matter what background you have or how you identify. This really is something for... There is something for everybody in this podcast and in the stories that we share. We also really do value the importance of being able to laugh at the stuff that you've been through, because it can be really, really therapeutic. I know it's not how everybody processes, but we're here to promote laughter.
Laughter is healing.
Yes. They say that laughter is the best medicine, and we've
been cracking up through it.
Sometimes you gotta laugh through the pain and through the chaos. So if you find anything relatable and funny as well, then this is the perfect place for you.
Yes.
So welcome and buckle up, because it's about to get pretty crazy.
We got tea.
Yeah, we got some tea, literally and figuratively.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess we should kick off with just explaining more about how we got here, how we know each other. Because I feel like we are...
It's a whirlwind.
Yeah.
It's a whirlwind of a story, so make sure
we're an unlikely duo. Like, we hated each other just a couple months ago. Yeah. We hated each other for about, a year?
It was almost a year.
Yeah.
It was creeping up on a year.
Yeah.
Yep. And look at us now. Giggling away. Giggling away.
In our little podcast studio.
Right.
Yep. Addtax Productions.
Period.
Clock it. Yeah, so do you want to share a little bit about how we know each other?
So, we know each other because I have an ex that will be unnamed, who it happens to be her cousin. And yeah, me and that ex we are not on speaking terms anymore. So yeah, the way that me and her are just around each other right now is actually really, really, really crazy.
Yeah.
It's insane.
We met in October of 2023 through him. I had heard a lot about you and I was really excited to meet you.
Clip a picture because I have that picture from that night.
Yes. Yes.
I have it still.
Yep. And yeah, we honestly hit it off right when we met.
Mm-hmm.
We got along really well.
Yeah.
And yeah, so from there we just had a blossoming friendship. Obviously, there was still kind of that barrier of having my cousin in the mix.
Yeah, and trying to figure out, like,
Yeah.
oh, you know, I'm having this blossoming friendship, but
Yep.
also just learning, like, what are the boundaries?
Yeah.
You know? So,
Yeah.
yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
There's that.
And as time went on, you know, there were situations where he would confide in me about certain things, and then I would hear something different from you. But it was spun in a way to me as if you were the one that was lying.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of it impacted our friendship in a negative way.
Very quickly.
Yeah, very quickly.
Very
Like,
quickly.
in less than 24 hours, our friendship
Yeah.
was dissolved
Yeah.
because I thought that you were lying to me.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and it, you know, turns out that you weren't.
Yeah. And it's so crazy. What's so crazy about that is that not only was he lying on me, like on my character to her, he was lying on her character to me.
Yeah.
So it was a double whammy with that one.
And I honestly wasn't expecting that. Like,
Yeah, right.
oh my gosh, that is just, yeah, we'll get into that. But that part was very wild to me as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, just seeing how quickly things crumbled between us.
Yeah.
And then randomly, recently, we, by magical forces, we reconnected. And yeah, we got to talking. I was going through a breakup at the same time.
As me.
Yep, as
Both went through the
Patience.
breakups at the same
Yes,
time.
at the same exact time. So, through this mystical reconnection, we got to talking and realized that, wow, we've been tricked.
We've been bamboozled. We've been bamboozled.
We've been bamboozled.
We've been lied to.
We've been duped.
Yeah.
We've been duped. And like, it was within the first 5 minutes
Yeah.
of
that
just
we
being
caught
like,
on.
whoa.
We were like, hold on, wait. That's not what I was told. We were like, wait, this is what I was told.
Yes,
I'm
'cause
like,
I thought-
no, I can show you.
Yes.
I
'Cause
got
thought,
receipts.
yes, I literally thought that you were a crazy psycho bitch.
Same
I
here.
thought that you were ruining my cousin's life.
Yeah.
Which is why I was so like, oh, fuck
Get her
Patience.
out here.
Yeah.
Get her out of here. Why are
Get
you
her out
still
of here.
there?
Yeah, I was like, well, you deserve so much better. Why are you still with her? And the whole time, he was the one tormenting you.
Yeah.
So
Putting me through the fucking ringer.
yes, and that honestly just rocked my world when I found that out, and I just
Yeah.
felt, you know, like, wow. We had the realization that we never had to stop being friends.
Yeah. But
We
it was
could've
all
been
because of
friends.
him.
Yeah.
It was all because of him.
We could have been friends this whole time.
Yeah, but that just brings us into like, why do we think that he even did that?
Yeah.
Like, because essentially, you know, he put us up against each other.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously he was lying and doing a
Yeah.
whole bunch of bull
Yes.
behind my back. But that's why he did that. So
Yeah.
she wouldn't be in my ear telling me like, hey, be careful.
Yeah.
Or like just even that possibility that what he was doing behind my back could spill out.
Yeah,
So.
I agree. And I think that on the other end of that too is that he knew that if I actually knew how he was treating you,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't stand for that.
Yeah. Cause
And-
because there's a difference between someone being, I made a mistake. I didn't show up as my best self in that situation.
Yeah, right.
But he was just a piece of shit consistently. So like abusive. So
Yes.
like, yeah, I agree. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's like, how could any woman just stand there and be like,
Yeah,
like what you
Yeah.
did, what you're doing is okay.
right.
Like-
Yeah, I totally agree. So that's how we know each other. And then on my end, so my ex is my cousin's best friend. And I know that this is all going to be a little, or not not a lot confusing, a little confusing. So I'm just going to draw a nice diagram for everybody, which we will have up on the screen for your reference for this episode and future episodes. So, but yeah, so, so you have my, oops. Oh, I need to draw, don't I? That would help. Okay, so class is in session. Buckle up. This is...
Get your notebooks out, guys.
Yes, this is addtaxpod 101.
Yep.
Welcome. So, so we have me. So we have Jasmine at the top. And then we have... my cousin. Now, my cousin and we did not really grow up together. We really connected once we got older. Like in our teenage years, we ended up working at the same job. And then when I was in college, we reconnected again then. And he would come up and visit me and we would hang out. And then after college, we reconnected like 3 different times.
A lot of reconnections.
Yeah. And the third time we reconnected, I was in a really rough place. I was going through a really bad breakup at that time. And he really came in and had my back through that. So, so once we reconnected then in our 20s, it just felt different. So we started to hang out a lot more, spend a lot more time together. I would support him in his craft. And through supporting him, that's obviously how I met you. Yeah. Because I was just getting outside a lot more. And then that's also how I met his best friend. So we have the BFF / my ex who's there. So I ended up dating his best friend. And then obviously my cousin started dating Patience. Ignore my handwriting. But
you get the gist.
Yeah, you get the gist. So it's all like one big ecosystem of people. So
ecosystem's a great word for you.
Thank you. So you have me here, and then you have me here, and then you have my cousin, who I'm obviously related to, and through my cousin, I became friends with Patience, and I also met his best friend, who is my ex. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody.
Doesn't it already look messy?
It is so messy.
When we get into this story, y'all gonna be at the edge of y'all seats. Like, y'all really went through that?
Yeah, literally. You could write a movie about this.
Honestly.
Netflix, hit us up.
Tyler Perry, hit us up.
So, yeah. Okay. So that's how we all know each other. Mm-hmm. And so through these multiple breakups, and I ended up cutting off my cousin shortly after my breakup with my ex, which we'll get into, but that is how ties have severed and ties have reconnected again unexpectedly.
Completely unexpected.
So unexpected. So that's how we got here. Mm-hmm. And yeah.
Where do we want to start with that? There's so much to it.
I know.
There's so much to it.
There's so much to it.
We can start off with,
how about we get my breakup out the way first?
Yeah. Start with how was the first meeting?
Yes. So when we first met, I thought that he was so great. And honestly, at that time, I was just in such a much different space in my life.
Yeah.
And so we really did hit it off really well. And we were very much aligned. But there was hesitancy in the beginning because of my cousin and because that's his best friend. And that's obviously my cousin.
Yeah.
So.
But did your cousin express anything that made you want to be like, oh, maybe I should take a step back from his friend?
No, not at all. Because
to me,
what did he say to you?
there was a lot of distaste about the fact that y'all were dating.
Really? Wow. Because the only thing that I knew was that they had to have some kind of bro talk.
Oh, yeah.
So that my ex could get my cousin's stamp of approval to like date me or something.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I knew. I didn't know that. It makes sense because in the end of it all, he did tell me, my cousin told me, I knew y'all wouldn't make it.
A hater.
Yeah.
Isn't
that so?
Stuff like that. How long, when did y'all break up and when did your cousin tell you that? Like
He
how
told
much
me
of a
that same night. I bawled my eyes out. I bawled my eyes out to my mom. And then I go and I call my cousin because I'm like, okay, that's probably the second person I should tell. Yeah. And then, he was pretty cold about it and like, oh yeah, I knew this was coming. And then said like, yeah, I knew you guys wouldn't make it. What?
That's so cold, man.
Yeah.
That's so cold.
Very, very cold. So, and at that time, it was like the middle of the night. So I was just so tired. And, I hadn't processed it. Because again, it had just happened like maybe less than an hour before I had called him.
Yeah.
So I was just like, oh, why do you think that? And his answer was, well, y'all's traumas don't align. What does
that
that
doesn't
mean?
make any sense. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Tell me, what traumas could align in that way? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
That's what I be talking about. He just be saying stuff just to say stuff. And he makes it sound so good.
Yeah.
So good. It'd be
so
like,
good.
damn, what am I missing?
But it's really just word salad.
Oh, wow. I like that.
Oh, thank you.
I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's really just word salad.
That's really what it is.
Because when you really step back and assess it, it's like, that actually doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You actually don't know what you're talking about. He just likes to hear himself talk. So,
yep.
But that was probably the person that now I know that I shouldn't have called him because he didn't have anything supportive to really say, and just kind of, that was the beginning of the whole him flipping it onto a victim blaming thing for me. Just because I was the one that, did the dumping. So,
He said, how dare you leave my bestie?
Yeah, right.
How dare you leave him?
That's my bestie. Leave him alone.
Yeah.
That's
my man.
Yeah, right. How dare you hurt my man?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that so that's kind of that was the beginning of that. But I think that honestly this is a great place to take a break for a quick little ad break.
Cool.
And then we'll get back into how I dumped my ex. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Welcome back. Okay, so let's just get right into how and why I dumped my ex. So, first of all, he's a bitch.
So let's make that clear. Let's make that totally clear.
First and foremost, that's all you really need to know, but I'll give you more details. But yeah, he's a bitch. And secondly, and also equally as important, he yelled at me. And And just to make the record so straight, yelling is abuse. And that was something that I really hadn't come to terms with until the breakup. And something that I really didn't want to accept, honestly. I didn't want to look into the, if yelling was or wasn't abuse. And, yeah, so to give some more background on my ex and I, we did go to the same college, and had a lot of mutual friends, or just peers, I guess. And we were also in a long distance relationship. So he was about 4 hours away. And a lot of people think that put a strain on our relationship, but it really didn't, because whether or not we were living 5 minutes away from each other or a million hours away, that he's still going to yell. That doesn't stop that.
Distance doesn't stop that.
It doesn't.
This is going to happen.
Exactly. Yep. The abuser doesn't care how far away you are.
That's tea, man.
Yeah.
That's tea.
Yeah.
They'll always find a way.
They will find a way. Yep. And we dated for about 11 months. So we were just 1 month away from our 1 year anniversary.
Oh, shit. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yes, girl. Because right before, because I was looking at that calendar too while we were having this argument.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit. Next
Not
month.
right
I
before.
know.
Wow.
We were supposed to go on a cabin trip. I was like, oh, you're ruining everything.
Piece of shit.
I like you. Right?
Boot up on that trip.
Literally in the middle of the woods, being all romantic, but no. So yeah, and it was like about a week and a half or 2 weeks after Valentine's Day. So the last time that I ever saw him in person was Valentine's Day. Yeah.
Damn.
But he also really gave me the ick on Valentine's Day, but that's another story.
I want to know.
You want to know?
Yeah.
Okay, so he came into town and we got an Airbnb for, the night portion of Valentine's Day. And I was just, changing out of my dinner clothes into something more comfortable. And we had been having some drinks, but he got really drunk. And he just started kind of like drunk rambling about his multiple addictions, which I'll get into. But I was just standing.
Wait, on Valentine's?
Yes, on Valentine's Day.
Like, way to throw the mood off.
No, literally. That's why I said I got the ick so bad. And I literally had to go into the bathroom and like regroup myself. Because I was like, oh, we have the rest of the night. And he just really gave me the ick. I'm like, what are you talking about? This is not the time to be a day of love. Right. I was like, I already know. Like, shut up.
I'm experiencing it with you.
Right. Yeah. I'm like, I have to deal with that every day. I get it. So, and he was just going on. And I was just standing in the bathroom doorway, literally staring at the floor like, I was just waiting for it to be over. I wish I could have tuned it out, but I couldn't because I was like, what is he talking about? So, yeah, so that was how he gave me the ick on Valentine's Day. And, yeah, it really didn't help his case because I feel like after that, I just kind of started getting the ick more easily because I just was like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's just aching me out.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so back in August of 2024, I had already told him because he had yelled at me multiple times up to that point. And at the end of August, I had to sit him down and tell him, you are not going to yell at me ever again or I'm done and I'm walking away and I'm leaving. Yeah. And he acted like he understood and said that he was going to start therapy because I was like, I don't know what you need to do, if you need to go to therapy or something, but this can't keep happening. So he started up therapy and, well, allegedly, because I actually don't know if he went or not, because
Damn.
this the time that made me break up with him, whenever he yelled at me, I asked him, I was like, what have you been doing these last 6 months in therapy?
So where's the growth?
Yes, I was like, what have you been doing? Because you keep saying that every week, and then every other week you're going to therapy.
Yeah.
So that's why I say allegedly, because his answer was, oh, he taught me some breath work or breathing exercises. And I was like, I want to like yank my hair out. I was like, that's it.
He touched his toes once.
Yeah, he touched his toes once.
Healed his inner child.
Yes,
man.
I was like, what? Oh my gosh. It was so aggravating because I was like, you've had 6 months. That's half of a year of therapy.
Yeah.
And you really haven't done anything. So, yeah. So throughout our relationship, he's had a history of yelling and cussing me out. And he's also broken not 1, but 2 iPhones during the duration of our relationship.
What is he doing? Is he like chucking these things, or is he like
Like the Hulk? No, he literally, because again, we were long distance, so like most time we never argued in person. Like sometimes we get on each other's nerves, but like our real full-blown arguments, 99% of them happen on the phone. So we'd be on FaceTime and he'd be like, oh, I can't talk to you anymore, and then hang up, and then I would be sitting on the other end like, okay, well, I guess he's going to go through a tantrum now. But the first time it happened, he called me back from his iPad. And I was like, what happened to your phone? And he was like, I broke it. Like a little kid. And I was like, you broke your phone?
why?
I was like, how did that happen? He was like, I don't want to talk about it. So I'm assuming that he just launches that shit across the room. And it just, because I'm like, if you, like, I mean, I'm not that strong, but if you throw your phone against the wall, or like if you drop it
and
on
that's
accident,
a grown-ass man.
yes,
That's a different type of strength.
that is.
That thing's shattering.
Yes, I'm like, how is it broken? And then he would have to run to the Verizon store or whatever, like freaking out the next day, calling his mom, Mom, I broke my phone.
How does that work? Like, you keep buying these phones. Don't you gotta pay these things off?
Yeah, I guess. So I think the first time he had like lied and said that he accidentally dropped it.
Oh,
And I think that's what he told his mom too. So that, because I guess he's on like their plan or something.
Okay.
So then it was like covered under the warranty because it was covered under like dropping the phone or something. A lie.
Yeah.
So, but the second time he actually had to buy it, I'm pretty sure, because the second time it was the same situation. We were arguing, you know, he's like, oh, I gotta get off the phone. And then he hangs up, calls me back from his iPad, and I'm like, where's your phone?
So not again.
Yeah, I'm like, oh. So if the first time wasn't bad enough, I'm like, 2 phones? And I'm like, these are expensive. This is $1,000. This is a rack. You're just throwing it like it's nothing. Just because you're angry?
Yeah.
Get a grip. Get a grip. So yeah, he broke his clothes hamper one time. I don't know if he like stomped on it, or I still don't know how he broke that. But he had to buy a whole new hamper because he was like, oh yeah, I broke my clothes hamper. Well, the first time that I ever saw him hit something was like,
you've seen it.
Yeah, it was very early on in our relationship. And the first time I didn't say anything because he used to drive a Lemon. now his car broke down, so he's upgraded to a nice new car or whatever. But whenever I met him, he was driving a lemon. And he was mad because something had happened in his car, like the sound system wasn't working right. He starts punching the fuck out of his car. He's like,
What part of the car?
like the dash. And I'm sitting on FaceTime like, mind you, that was the first time in our relationship that I actually...
wait. Because I have to understand, like, what could you see? Could you see his actual fist hitting the dashboard?
Yeah, because he used to have this, like... he used to have a phone mount that, like... It was either he had it on a phone mount or he had it in, like, the little compartment under there. So either way, I was getting, like, a full-on view of him just punching the fuck out of his car. And I'm sitting on FaceTime, like, and I didn't know how to handle it at that time. So I was like, oh, babe, like, calm down.
Oh, you poor
girl. Yeah, I was in total freeze.
Yeah, I'd be like, I don't know. Like,
I didn't know.
Are
what
you
to
gonna
say.
like? If I try to comfort you, are you gonna put it on me?
Right. Yes. Yeah, and
That's
that was even over
scary.
FaceTime. I was like, oh my gosh, if I say something, is he gonna like cuss me out?
Yeah, that's so scary.
Yeah, it was. Oh. So, and then he did it a second time. And the second time that he did it, I had to tell him, like, if you're going to do that, first of all, you shouldn't be. Second of all, if you have to, for some reason, get me off the phone.
Yeah.
I literally had to
your
tell
private time.
Yes, I was like, don't do that around me. And I had to explain to him that, like, I don't feel comfortable being around people that are screaming and yelling, people that are punching things. I don't like violence, and that's violence.
Yeah, and plus you're his woman.
Yes.
I shouldn't have to fear you.
Yeah, exactly. So, and he was like, oh, he like took it personally at first, and he was like,
because you were challenging his personal growth.
Yeah, that's a great point. And he was just like, oh, well. Like, so times afterwards when he would get angry and stuff in his car, he's like, well, I gotta get you off the phone because I know you don't want to see this. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, you should get me off the phone.
Because I know you don't want to see this. Like, okay.
You're like, yeah, I don't.
Thanks for announcing it.
Right, yeah. Which is a great point because he would use the, especially towards the end of our relationship, he would always say that, like, it was a subconscious thing and he just didn't know. He couldn't control it.
That's like...
Clearly he did.
Bullshit.
Yes, total bullshit. Because clearly you did know. Yeah. If you were able to announce it before you did it.
Come on now.
Be so for real.
Be so for real.
So, yeah, he's also kicked a big hole in his bedroom door, which is probably still there. He's not getting that security deposit back.
Is it that big?
Girl, it's like, I'm like, what? Because mind you, for reference, this man is 6'5", 200-something pounds. Like, he got a size 14 foot or 13 or whatever, like, that's a big nigga. Yes. Yeah, my thoughts exactly. So, yeah, he's probably still got that big ass hole in his door to this day. Like, because his door was white. He kicked it in so hard that, like, you can see the brown of the internal. Yes, the inside the door. And whenever he had told me about it before I went up to go visit him one time, and he was like, oh, by the way, I kicked a hole in my door. And I was like, okay, well, thanks for the heads up. And so I get there, and he literally had like a tote bag hanging on like his bedroom door handle, trying to cover it. Trying to cover it. And he was like still working or whatever, because I got there on like a Friday or something. And I like, while he was working, I like moved the tote bag to see how big it was. And I was like,
oh hell no.
I was like,
disclaimer,
whoa.
Guys, this goes for women and men.
Yes.
If your partner or someone that you're dating is showing any signs of anger issues, leave. Let them grow through it. Let them learn about themselves and work through it with themselves, because it's just going to be put on you, and that's not fun to be holding nobody down that got anger issues.
Yes, totally agree. I couldn't have said it better myself. Like, run. Run for the hills. Run. But yeah, so he would even get so overwhelmed with pure anger that he would have like panic attacks because of how angry he would get. And that was interesting. And, you know, I was just like, oh, wow, like, that's how much it like consumes him.
Yeah.
And that's how much it can really consume somebody that has true anger issues. It's like you just like your brain doesn't know what to do with it because you're not able to emotionally regulate yourself. So yeah, man, it was very crazy, but these are just all abusive tendencies and severe anger management issues. And I was just letting it slide for way too long. Like, he was a lot less emotionally mature than I am, and I think just emotionally stunted as well, and just didn't know how to handle and process his emotions.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So, yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Very poor emotional management
If
skills.
one of our viewers is having those sort of issues, please go and get help. Do not get into a relationship.
Yes. Yes.
Do not.
Yes. Please.
Please. And we're not laughing because it's funny.
No.
We're laughing because
it's real.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm honestly, sometimes I laugh because I'm in disbelief. That's
too.
something that I put up with for so long.
Can't
I'm
fucking
like,
believe
what?
myself.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Like, who I am now? I'm like, I would never stand for that. No. But yeah, so to get into oh my gosh. Oops. Technical difficulty. It's okay. All is well. But yeah, so to get into how the breakup even really happened, like I said, we were arguing about a situation that had come up, and he obviously got increasingly just more angry and started yelling at me. I don't even remember the exact words at this point. I just know that he was pissed.
Yeah.
And
It becomes a blur.
It does. It really does. I'm like, so unoriginal. You yell at me all the time. Spice it up and be nice.
Yeah, what?
Like,
do something different.
Right? So, yeah, but that night, we had our argument, and then we kind of resolved it. I was going to have a follow-up conversation and, like, bring up the fact that he had yelled at me, because I was like, this needs to be addressed. And I already knew that, like, I had already made this very clear in August, and he just didn't. And I was conflicted because I knew that I either had to stand 10 toes on what I said or give in and not stand 10 toes and then
continue to deal with it.
Yes, and risk him, losing even more respect for me and not taking my words seriously.
Wow.
Because if I wasn't taking it seriously, then why would he take it seriously? So one thing led to another. We have the conversation, and I'm just trying to talk through it. And then after that, he said that he wanted to take a break in our relationship. So
How long did he say?
It was like 9 days or something. He didn't even know. It was like so spur of the moment. He was like, I think we need to take a break. And I was like, what?
No, you need to go to therapy, sir.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah. Because I was telling him, like, I told him that I don't think therapy is enough. I think you need to.
You're too far gone.
Yes, I was like, I think you need to supplement this with anger management classes or something.
Yeah.
So while we were literally on FaceTime, I heard him clacking away on his laptop, already looking for anger management classes. And then he felt like he needed to take a break so that he could get himself together, so that he could show up better for himself and like our relationship and stuff. And, it all sounds nice, but that's the thing with a lot of men, abusive and toxic men, is that their words sound really nice and sound really promising, but it's like, look at their actions.
Yes,
like
look at their
nothing.
fruit.
Yeah, you've had because we were dating for over a year. So you've had an entire year to get your shit together.
And there was nothing.
You're
still the same man that you were when you first met.
Exactly. I'm like, this is the same. You haven't done anything.
That's crazy.
And now you want to take a break in our relationship to go and figure it out. So I had talked to a trusted family member, and I was like, explain the situation. And through that conversation, I just realized what I had to do. I felt so convicted in that moment. I was like, I have to break up with him.
Yeah.
And I had even asked him, hey, I reminded him what I said back in August. And I was like, if I let this go, I feel like you're just going to, not respect me or take me seriously. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what do you think? And he had said, what did he say? He was like, no, I think it just means that you're giving me grace. And I was like, okay. But that didn't really make me feel better.
Yeah.
I was like,
it's the wrong answer.
Yeah, I was like, okay, but I was taking anything I could get because I really didn't want to break up with him. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I really didn't want to break up, and it was really hard for me to stand on business, even though I knew I had to, because I also recently, like a couple weeks before that, lost my grandma. Mm-hmm. So I was like, I don't want to lose somebody else right now. Yeah. Like, I really was trying to find a way to just ignore the screaming and just move on from it and just keep the relationship intact. But again, once I felt it, like, this relationship is over. Like, I had to call him back and, tell him. But ironically, through that entire night, he was on the phone with his bestie, my cousin, and I guess...
My ex.
Yep. And I guess my cousin was just coaching him through the entire night or something. So...
2 peas in a pod. They're
right?
both pieces of shit.
2 pieces of shit in a pod. But yeah, so he was just coaching him through the whole night. So whenever I called back... Well, whenever the break started that night, my ex was still calling me to, like, ask me more questions that I guess he was getting prompted from my cousin. Yep. So he was calling me and asking me stuff, which just made us more upset because I'm, like, one of the things that he had asked me was, oh, well, so you're saying that I can't yell at you ever again, like, for eternity? And I was like, yeah. Never again. And he just seemed so stressed out by it. So
that's because he had my ex in his ear.
Yes.
Does that sound like a my ex type of question?
Yeah, because he had
the same issue.
Yes, because my cousin asked me the same question, like, later on. Mm-hmm. He was like, oh, so you just expected him to never yell at you for eternity? And I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's abusive.
Yes.
Like, as in a relationship, as your woman, I should feel soft.
Yeah.
I should feel soft. I should feel safe. And if you're yelling at me and trying to put me down, in what world would you think that I'm going to feel covered by you?
Exactly.
Like, how?
Exactly.
How?
Yeah. Yeah. If you can't, yeah, I agree. If you can't feel safe in your own relationship, you can't feel safe anywhere. Yeah. So on that note, let's take a quick break and then get right back into the tea. There's more.
There's so much more.
Left off, we were talking about how I broke up with my ex.
We had to stand on business.
Yep, standing on business. But yeah, whenever I called him, like I said, it was not easy. I called him and I just started bawling. Like, I was just crying my eyes out because
you knew what you had to do.
Yeah, and I really did love him so much, and it felt like physically. Oh, that's the first time that it ever felt physically painful to break up with somebody. And it was just it was one of the hardest things, regardless of all the problems in the relationship.
Yeah.
It was still
because you
one
cared.
of
Yeah.
it was still one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my entire life so far.
Yeah.
But it was the right thing to do. And it was interesting because he didn't really show much emotion whenever we were on the phone. Like he looked like he looked like he was just about to get pissed again.
Are you serious?
He was like scrunching up his face. He was like,
oh hell no. Oh, hell no. What?
yeah, and I was just sitting there bawling, and I was like, I love you so much. And I couldn't even get the words out. And he was just like, are you breaking up with me? And I was like, yeah. And then, he was
That
just
was that.
like, yeah.
He
then,
hurried up and called his best
yeah,
friend.
he did, because he was like, I gotta get off the phone. And
He hurried up and called him.
yeah, right. And I was like, what? That's all? That's it? So yeah, he hurried up and called his bestie boo. And, I went downstairs and, just started sobbing. And, yeah, so that's how the breakup actually happened. And that was the last time that we heard each other's voices or saw each other's faces.
Wow.
A couple days later after that, as I was just processing everything, because I broke up with him on a Wednesday, I talked to my cousin that same night. My cousin told me to call him back later in the week, because again, this was happening in like the middle of the night. So a couple days went by. Saturday, I ended up reaching out to my ex's mom just to kind of say like, thank you and stuff like that. And just because me and her did form like some type of relationship.
Yeah.
So I just felt like it was the respectful and kind thing to do. So just, I don't know. I had never gone close to somebody's family before, so I don't know the rules to that.
Yeah.
But I just tried my best. So I had a conversation with her that I thought went really well because there was no indication on her end that it wasn't going well.
Yeah.
And then later on, like a couple hours later that morning, I finally peel myself out of bed.
Not peel. As I was rotting, I had to peel myself.
Yes, girl. I was like, let me go walk my dog. So I peeled myself out of bed. And I was like, okay, let me call my cousin while I'm outside walking. So I call him. And I wasn't even planning on bringing up that call because it wasn't relevant information to share with him. So I call him and I'm like, hey, twin, because that's what we used to call each other. Hey, twin. He was like, hey, twin. And I was like, oh, what's up? How are you doing? And he had said, well, I know that you've been making a lot of noise. And I was like... the fuck do you mean?
He's so sassy.
Yeah.
He loves to gossip.
Yes. I was like, what do you mean a lot of noise? And he was like, I know that I'm not the only person that you've talked to today. And I was like, oh, so-and-so's mom? Yeah, we had a good conversation. Like, what? And he was like, no, you did not.
Like, were you on the phone?
Yes, I was like, huh? I was literally so confused. I was like, what do you mean? I was like, yes, it did go. It went well. Like, I was like, we've never had a bad conversation.
Yeah.
So he was just, and then I guess my ex's mom was just faking it the whole time and didn't actually like the things that I was saying to her. And according to my cousin, the things that I guess really rubbed her the wrong way was me talking about, or it's not even like I went to detail. I just mentioned like why we broke up and just saying that it was unfortunate that he couldn't, stop yelling at me. and that I hope that he still continues on with his anger management therapy. And I feel like he'll still be much happier if he does continue with it, whether or not I'm still in his life. And I had said that I still loved him, still wish him the best. She had said things like, oh, well, maybe you guys can be friends in the future. And I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind being friends with him. Like, I still love him. I think he's a great person.
Yeah.
So I had nothing bad or disparaging to say about him, but I guess she didn't like that I was saying that her son had anger issues.
He's a mama's boy, and that's the thing with a lot of for real. It's the thing with a lot of families is that when it comes to their sons and their brothers and stuff like that, like they really, really lack to hold them accountable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of them, especially with like narcissists, like these families are aware of the things that, this person is doing, but they don't want nobody outside of the family to know. Yeah. And how dare you hold them accountable?
Right.
How dare you?
Yes. Yeah. And that was the first time that I had encountered something like that. And I was and even though my ex isn't a narcissist, just the fact that because he's been throwing stuff and breaking things since he was a child. So maybe to her, it's like a slight against her parenting because he's still the same way that he was when he was a child. But that's not my issue. And it's kind of like a return to sender kind of deal where it's like, oh,
now that's your problem now.
Yeah.
Again,
take him back.
Yep. No.
I don't want him. So yeah. And I had also reached out to my ex's cousins because I thought that we had built some kind of relationship over the last year, and I guess that wasn't true or something, because my cousin was telling me oh, they don't care about you, why would you ever reach out to them? And I was like, what do you mean? Because when I tell you that my ex's cousins, first of all, we've been on vacation together, second of all, we've spent holidays and have reached out on holidays and stuff, and then even they followed me on Instagram. So you're telling me that these people don't care about me, but every time I post something on my story, they're swiping up and saying something.
Yeah.
And saying, oh, love you, cuz, and stuff like that. What do you mean?
But even then, that's just so weird that your cousin even brought that up to you.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're already out of the relationship.
Yes, and knowing that it honestly wasn't helpful information.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with that? Yeah. Because, again, his mom acted like everything was fine.
Yeah.
And there was one cousin that had texted me back, and she was, sent me well wishes and told me kudos for sticking to my boundaries. So I was like, okay, I guess I thought that was the sentiment of the family. But come to find out, I ended up in the family group chat. They were all talking shit about me. and I thought, and it was even so crazy because I had even texted my ex's mom a little after we got off the phone, and I was like, oh, also I still have some of his clothes. I can come over and just drop them off real quick so that you can give them back to him, because I knew that his dad's birthday was coming up. It would be a perfect time for her to just be like, oh, hey, by the way, here's some stuff. But
did you end up taking it?
No, because as my cousin was telling me that basically they all hate me for, telling the truth. No, I went and I looked at my messages. It was green. So she blocked me with the quickness, because I just sent it because I was trying to get out the door. So I was like, oh, let me text her, because I saw some of his T-shirts, and I was like, oh, let me text her and let her know. And yeah. And it was one of their, some of their kitchen items that were still at my place. Yeah. And I was just like, oh, yeah, let me just give it back like a normal, nice human being. But
they fucking hated that.
Yeah, my message turned green. Green as fuck.
They hated that.
Yeah. And she had even asked me oh, well, did you feel unsafe around him? And maybe she doesn't know this, but my ex would hit himself in the head and So my thing is,
if you're doing that to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you're doing that to yourself, and if you're okay with subjecting yourself to your own physical abuse, then it was only a matter of time before that turned on to me.
Yeah.
Maybe it would have been once, we got married, because I really did believe that was going to be my husband and the father of my kids and everything. But maybe, I don't know, could have happened sooner or later. But if he was okay with doing that to himself, it was absolutely going to happen to me. And, and then what? His family would have been like, oh, well, what did you do? It takes two to tango kind of bullshit. Yeah. So I dodged a lot of different bullets with that. And that's what I realized that day. And not only did I dodge a bullet with my ex, but also his entire family. Because that's not a family that I would ever want to marry into. Because it's like, see nothing, hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil, or whatever. Just sweeping stuff under the rug, or just don't ask, don't tell kind of deal, all of that kind of stuff. But I'm not surprised because, his dad cheated on his mom and everything. So she might be looking at me and be like, oh, she has the courage that I've never had. Yeah. And she's like, what, 40 or 50 or 50s? So looking at somebody that's like half her age that has the courage to walk away before things get bad or worse, before I'm locked into a marriage and parenthood with somebody.
And you allowed him to still stay.
Yes. Yep. So that could also be the case.
If I could do it, why can't you do it?
Yeah.
That's my son. That's my baby.
Yes. Well, your son turned out to be just like his father.
Yeah.
So.
So are you happy in that marriage?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, they're not, because they sleep in separate bedrooms. Yikes. So they're not happy. Going 50-50. Like.
Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no.
That's not happy.
Yeah.
That's not happy.
That's not soft life.
It's not. It's not soft life at all.
At all. That's all.
That's not. I honestly, no, I would not want to be in her shoes. So, yeah, but to wrap up with this, they're all enablers at the end of the day. My cousin really made it seem like I was the problem through telling me that stuff. And I think he wanted me to feel like shit because I didn't feel bad for breaking up with my ex. I knew it's what had to happen. Like, I was sad because I'm human, but like, I didn't feel bad. Like, oh no, like my life is in shambles. Like my life very much kept going without him. And I think that just made it easier for me to move on, because I was like, oh yeah, just because he's not here doesn't mean that shit stops for me. Like my life actually just continues on, and it actually ended up getting a lot better. Yeah.
Actually got a lot better.
Yes.
That's how it happens.
Exactly. And on the days that, it was a little bit weird adjusting to the loneliness of it all, or like not, when you talk to somebody for over 365 days every single day,
it becomes a habit.
Not hearing their voice for days on end, you're like, whoa. It's kind of like a mind fuck, because you're just used to hearing that, and you're used to the dopamine that it normally brings, being like, oh, even when we would be mad at each other, like at least I'm hearing his voice or like seeing his face, So, but yeah, what helped me to move on, and I highly recommend doing this for people that are struggling, going through a breakup, but writing down a list of things that you don't like about that person. I thought that it was just going to be like 5, maybe 10 things I didn't like about him. But girl, over 100 things. I had to stop myself at 100. Because it was just too much writing. Yeah.
She said, damn, did I actually like this nigga?
Yes, literally. I was able to write down 100 things on a list that I did not like about this man. Intrinsically, externally, just, about his life. A lot of different stuff. Yikes. 100 things. So that, once I looked at that list, I was like, whoa. Yeah, I do deserve better, don't I? What is this? That's not my dream man. That can't be it. No. But Yeah. So the plethora of issues, and I think some of the main ones that, we'll dive into at a later time, but he has 4 different addictions. So
Yikes.
he's addicted to porn. He's addicted to marijuana, or, for other platforms where we can't say that, the devil's lettuce. he's addicted to nicotine, and he's addicted to his phone. So
Sip my tea on that one.
yeah, sip it. Take a gulp. Take a gulp. Is that chamomile?
Yeah, and
You're
lavender.
gonna need it. Oh, period.
You're gonna need it.
You're gonna need it. Yeah. So these were all personal battles that he was fighting, and not only did it impact him in a negative way, but it damaged our relationship in multiple ways. So I was constantly stressed because I didn't know if he was getting his shit together or if he was still fucking around with his life and just wasting time and resources and energy on, all these things to fuel his addictions.
Yeah.
And it's like over time I realized that they were addictions, because at first it was like, oh, this is just a recreational thing, or like, oh, he only does this every once in a while. As time went on, I was like, and the more we would talk about stuff, because I ask a lot of questions, and I was just like, oh, that's an addiction.
Yeah.
That's an addiction.
Yeah.
That's another addiction.
That's so scary.
Yes, terrifying, because I was like, oh my gosh, like, it's not just one thing, like, it's a plethora. And I'll briefly touch on the 2 that were the most impactful on our relationship, but it was the drugs and the porn. And he was legitimately high for 99% of our relationship. Wow. So I really don't even know if I was experiencing the real him, because he was sedated all the time.
You weren't. You really weren't. And I have a family member who is now sober, but who's now sober because they smoked a lot of marijuana. And she talks a lot about how that wasn't the real her. Wow. And how she was just masking and, pushing down like different traumas and just stuff that she should have worked on, that she knew that she wanted to work on. And that since becoming now sober, all of these things are coming up that she's working through and going to therapy. So that was not the real him.
Yeah.
So it wasn't.
I don't know who I was dating.
That's so scary.
It is. And I haven't really thought about it until now. Like you sharing that story about your family member, like, it's very real. And it's just like, I was showing up every day as myself, but I was with God knows who that was.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he would have to be high doing his job. Like, he worked fully remote, but he would have to be high for that. He would have to smoke when he was on the phone with me. Think of literally any normal, regular day-to-day activity that you do, and he had to be high to do it or to enjoy it, because he didn't enjoy things when he was sober. So he would always have this really bad mood, which again I had to deal with because I was his girlfriend. So if he wasn't high, so then it even made me, one time my therapist made a joke of like, because he had tried to like quit for like, I don't know, 24 hours. And
that's crazy.
Yeah. And, he had a big attitude towards me. She was like, well, maybe he does need to go and smoke some more. Because he was yelling at me. And she was like, maybe he doesn't need to smoke some more so he can go and chill out.
Yeah.
And I was like, but it was bad. And, the porn was a big one because it impacted his mood and his sleep schedule. And obviously sleep is very important. Was
he really watching it that much?
Girl, yeah. Yeah, he said that it was so bad that he couldn't go to sleep without watching it. I don't know.
And as his girlfriend in those moments, how did that make you feel? Like looking at yourself and knowing that he was going like outward.
Yeah.
Looking at other women
Yeah.
every single night.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Yeah. It made me feel weird because I was like, why can't you just like pop a sleep gummy and like go to sleep? Like, why this? Why is this the way?
Sleep gummy.
Yeah, I was like, why is this the way? And it also made me feel like, okay, like, is he going to have some kind of like weird expectations on like me as his girlfriend and stuff, or like try and pressure me in certain ways, which interestingly enough, like he actually didn't really do. But I think that it impacted, probably how he viewed me as a woman. But I think just as our relationship went on, I just became, well, I had already dealt with somebody like that previously. So the times that he did try to say stuff that might have made me feel bad about myself, like I would always clock it and shut it down.
Okay.
So it didn't really have a chance to like really manifest much. And I told him that like he needed to stop that because he's going to have a very skewed image of like what a real woman is and stuff like that. Yeah. So he had said that he would stop. I don't know if he ever did, honestly. Yeah. I don't know, because one time recently I had asked him and I was like, oh, like, so how's that been going? And he was like, well, I'm trying to stop. And I was like, okay. And I didn't feel like asking again because it was just gross.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but it was also just disturbing because I'm like, not only are you looking at a woman, but you're also looking at a man too. And, Every night.
Just watching someone have sex.
Yeah.
Someone that's not you.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't one of your personal sex vids.
No. Yeah, right?
This isn't a thirst trap.
Right, exactly. Like, these are other people that you don't know. And every night.
So weird.
Every night.
That's
you're
so unhealthy.
Yes.
Like, that's so unhealthy.
Yeah.
For yourself. For yourself emotionally and spiritually, and definitely if you're in a relationship.
Yeah, for sure. And I had to tell him to like at least tone it down before you were coming into town to see me, or before we were going to be seeing each other in person, because I felt like, I feel like even more so leading up to it, it just made him more like distant. Because, you just kind of get like, if you're thinking about, I wish I could go watch some porn right now, or she's staying the night, then like, that doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Tone it down before you come in town.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, you need to, and he was like, oh, that's a good point. And I was like, yeah, because I have a lot of good points.
Yeah.
But yeah, to wrap up my story, at the time of meeting him, we were very much aligned. I was coming out of a dark phase of my life, but I hadn't really reached the point of like really searching for enlightenment and aligning with my highest self. Yeah. So I feel like our frequencies did very much align, and he just stayed low vibrational our entire relationship, but I was on a literal like war path to grow and to work on myself. And I think I just, on a broader scale, just really outgrew him. Because if I had stayed the same, I would still be in that relationship.
Oh yeah.
But the fact that
come on.
So, but the fact that I really was working on myself and really growing, I just outgrew him at such a fast rate that by the end of it, I was able to look at it and be like, this does not align with anything that I stand for anymore, and how I view myself. Like, this can't go on. And I think that I didn't really connect the two until that last time that he had yelled at me, because there was nothing to really like spark me to like wake up and say like, whoa, let's assess and realize that this isn't serving us anymore. Yeah. So And I also think that I was so focused on looking for signs that he was a narcissist because those are the type of relationships that I'm used to.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
I've
same.
gotten really good at like sussing out a narcissist in a romantic sense that since I wasn't detecting any of that with my ex, in my brain I was like, okay, all signs go, you know?
Yeah.
But I hadn't really learned how to just detect a run-of-the-mill abuser.
Wow.
So that experience, I was like, oh, it was like, oh yeah, you can still be abusive and not a narcissist.
Yeah.
So that was the first time that I had experienced that. So it just showed me that that's something else to learn about and to learn the warning signs and to become aware of. Yeah, because he was just a regular run-of-the-mill abuser. Like, it's giving wife beater. And I dodged a huge bullet.
Huge bullet.
Because I don't deserve to be anybody's emotional punching bag or physical punching bag.
Yeah.
Which is probably what it would have turned into.
Yeah.
But to close off, before we go to our next break, I also found out that every time he would go to my cousin and vent, he would be calling me a bitch.
And I was hearing about it all, and my ex, her cousin, would call me and tell me like, he called me, you know, him and Jasmine are really going through it, and and he was calling her a bitch, and I was like, a bitch? And I was like, well, did you say anything? He was like, yeah, no, I just let him get it out.
Enabling behavior, and also so disrespectful from my ex, because he had always told me, you know, like, not that he's not the type of man that would, like, you know, call me out my name.
Yeah.
Not to my face, but you'll do behind my back.
Yeah. Just as disrespectful.
Just as disrespectful. So, and if I was such a bitch, then why'd you stay with me for so long? You could have just left me. I would have, honestly, I would have been so much happier, so much sooner if he had left me.
Yeah.
So, but no. Yeah, that is just, you know, the things that happen behind closed doors always come to light. Always come to light. So, but, you know, who was he going to abuse if I wasn't around? Nobody. So, on that note, let's go to our next break, and we'll be right back so you can spill some tea.
Yeah, because I got it for y'all. It's about to get juicy up in this mug.
Thanks for joining us. Tune in next week for part 2